Namaste and welcome to Dad's House Educational Center. I'm George McCaslin, moderator and co-creator of the Dad's House Educational Manual. The manual was originally produced in 1991 as a result of questions frequently asked by fathers, but not being addressed by fathers' rights groups who are mostly intent on the political aspects of the movement rather than helping the individual fathers with their immediate concern. Now, 20 years later, that situation still exists. Promises are made to change the laws, but in the meantime, millions of fathers are losing contact with their children. Further, they're being bankrupted by a system designed more for the benefit of the finances of attorneys than for the harmony of the family. Dad's House, in and of itself, is a dream, and perhaps an impossible dream, to open a physical location. It is a temporary shelter for fathers kicked out of their homes as a result of a separation order. It is a place where fathers and children can go who are dealing with issues of domestic violence. An educational center for fathers dealing with family law issues. And finally, a place where fathers can take parenting classes, especially those who are new fathers or teen fathers. These days, I work over the internet as I now live in a nursing home, working from my laptop trying to answer questions of fathers in distress. I cannot easily leave the nursing home for good due to reoccurring infections of my heart. Take the time to study the manual, especially the Getting Started section. This is the primary index page for the Dad's House Educational Manual. Before we begin, let me point out two items. First, the tweet and Facebook links. Please consider clicking on these in order to add this to your social networks for others to see. As we scroll down here, we come to the table of content. The manual is in 10 basic chapters. Children, getting started, attorneys and you, divorce, paternity, mediation, custody, visitation, child support, and abuse allegation. Please note to sign the guest book. You also see a section here on domestic violence against men and on addressing teen pregnancy. This here is an article on appreciating your dad and how to show your appreciation without necessarily spending any money. The children's section has various subsections. Children of separated parents, desires and needs. Children of America. This is a report that was presented to Vice President Al Gore at the White House in 1994. School record. You do not need to go through the primary or residential parent in order to obtain school records and grades. Under federal law, you have the right to obtain these directly. Step parents. If you are planning on remarrying or bringing an adult into your children's lives, this is something you need to consider reviewing. Our section on youth and teenagers. Next down is writing letters to legislators as well as editorial letters, which includes a list of the top 100 newspapers. The Getting Started section, as I mentioned earlier, is very important. Keeping a daily journal, that is your number one piece of evidence in a court of law, and something that you can be using and keeping in front of you when you are testifying. Chronological statement. This is something that is very necessary if you're planning to hire an attorney. Recording conversations in those states where it is legal and how you would go about doing it, along with a list of the states and their laws. Now we come to the family law attorneys and you. A common mistake made by parents is to hire the first attorney they talk. In reality, you should be preparing and interviewing several attorneys and then choosing the right one for you. We also have a section here on pro se law. We have a list of the family law terms. The Court Watchers program is a means of maintaining honesty in the court through the use of court watch. Request for continuance of a court date, and how to file criminal charges for perjury when a person has lied on the stand. And finally here, the Cornell Law Library. This is a good place to go for doing research. Under the divorce section, we have multiple articles. Divorce and dads, first aid kit, initial precautionary actions, financial documents, evidence, expense and income inventory, discovery, child custody and access, important days form, for picking out the days that are important to you and your children. Estimated monthly living expenses form. Alimony versus child support, a good article you should read, as alimony is often a very misunderstood subject. Alienation of affection lawsuit, and depression in men and fathers. This is a major problem in men after a separation, with them having a very high suicide rate. Paternity rights are coming up next. What one should know about paternity. You and your unborn child, you and your ex. How to deal with a claim of paternity when somebody names you as the father. Or if you believe you are the father of a child, how to prepare a paternity order request and a petition to determine paternity. Again, depression in fathers. Giving up parental rights. Prenatal testing for paternity, something important in states where you are required to begin providing financial aid prior to the birth of the child. Should there be mandatory paternity tests on all new births? This, along with the next article, challenging an already established child support order due to non-paternity, addresses the growing problems of men paying child support on children that are simply not there. Safe haven laws and single fathers. Is getting a vasectomy right out of high school the answer in order to avoid unwanted births and having it reversed when you're ready to have a child? And unfortunately, men who are having affairs with married women and end up getting them pregnant. What are the consequences of cheating? Mediation is something that should be used whenever possible, as it can avoid the high cost of going to court and battling out things that could have been agreed upon in advance. You could even use mediation instead of hiring an attorney in order to put together your agreement and file the order pro se. Now we come down to father custody. Of course, this is a complicated and extensive issue covering many areas, as you can see here. I will point out here James Cook, the father of joint custody. We lost Jim in 2009 after more than 30 years of fighting the good fight for joint custody. These articles were developed with the help of Jim back in the 90s and should be reviewed and considered when going after joint custody. Burdenless custody is a growing trend being found in Canada, in which the children are remaining in the home and they are getting joint physical custody of the parent, with each parent living in the home a specific period of time and then switching out. Naturally, cooperative parenting is very important in this area. If parents can learn to be cooperative, it creates a far less stress upon the children of separated parents. Now we come to considered factors in child custody. Most important, evaluation of your motives for wanting custody. Wanting custody is simply not a good enough reason. The purpose of having custody is showing what is in the best interest of the child and not what is in the best interest of the parent. Preparation. These are sample interrogatories that you will be given for determining of custody. By studying these, you will be better prepared when you are handed them by the other attorney. Visitation rights is a major problem in the U.S. today, with over 40% of divorced and single fathers being actively denied access to their children. This section covers how to develop a good visitation order and establishing and protecting the right of a non-custodial or non-residential parent. It has sample orders for parents living less than 100 miles apart and those living more than 100 miles apart. There's an article on denial of access and how to prove this in court, and especially without using an attorney. Faking separation anxiety is a means often used by custodial parents to make a child scream and cry during a transfer. This is often done by sticking them with a pen without anybody knowing it. Of course, we have grandparents' rights and child refusing to see the other parent, an issue that often comes up with teenagers as they no longer want to be held down to spending time with a parent. Finally, we come to the abuse chapter. Manipulating the courts through the use of false allegations. This is a common problem, and in over 60% of the cases of a father filing for custody, he will be accused of some type of abuse, whether it be domestic violence or as severe as child sexual abuse. And of course, the domestic violence articles on male victims. These are something, as we are now in October, is the domestic violence month, that you should be promoting. With the work I'm doing, I'm not trying to change the world. I'm merely trying to help the individuals living within it. I hope and pray that the knowledge you gain from Dad's House and from our manual, that you will pay it forward by passing it on to others. There are over 40 million divorced and single fathers, with the numbers continuing to grow daily. We need to be striving daily to reach out to them, telling them about Dad's House and what they can learn here. Always remember that knowledge is power, and you are about to gain the power of knowledge. Post a summary of your situation to Dad's House, along with the state or states involved, and please remember to keep the paragraphs short. That makes it easier for us old farts to read. Again, welcome to Dad's House, especially to all those women who joined to help father in need. If you are a stepmother, be sure to check out our sister group at www.secondwifeclub.org. With hope, this will lead to a new future for you and your children.